I'm going to keep this suspense waiting. I'm not going to pull out my first record in the box. It's a record I thought I would never talk about, but because of the cover and just because of how interesting it is, we're going to feature it tonight. I've got some interesting records to talk about tonight, but first off, I want to tell you, we're on the road again, kind of. We're not that far away from Rockford, but we're at Byron Public Library tonight. We actually had a vinyl presentation here. So if you're wondering where the heck we are, we're not in the store, not in our apartment. We're doing another one on location shoot for Vinyl Happy Hour tonight. So we're really excited also to be here because we actually just curated a collection of records that's going to be available at Byron Public Library for people to check out, and they have the little compact record players that people can even check out. So that's really interesting. They're getting ready to launch that here in August. This Sunday, August 12th, is actually National Vinyl Record Appreciation Day. So that's really interesting. Oh gosh, we have so much going on. Besides the presentation we just did here tonight on kind of the history of records, Sunday, August 12th at our store, Culture Shock, we are doing Q and Sesh. It's a barbecue and DJ session. It's going on in our parking lot. There's going to be professional DJs doing sessions there. It's very family friendly. We're going to have a cookout going on with Sandwich Factory doing barbecue, and there's going to be like a more of an amateur setup where people or kids who are interested in learning how to DJ can do a little interactive thing with a DJ and kind of learn a little bit more about how to DJ. So we're really interested to do that also. But yeah, we're going to get started here. So hey guys, I am Skylar Davis from Culture Shock Clothing and Records in Rockford, Illinois. And we are doing, what are we on, episode 11 now I think? Episode 11 of Vinyl Happy Hour. I'm going out for drinks after this, but I don't have a drink tonight for the Vinyl Happy Hour because we're in a library. So I was going to get some Sam's Drive-In, a little famous drive-in here in Byron. I was going to go get some of their root beer, but I'm going to go out for real drinks after this anyway. But Vinyl Happy Hour, every Thursday night what we're doing is giving a little breakdown, a little show off on some classic records, some new records, and a couple of gems or rare holy grails, which I kind of have two things that I would consider to be a holy gem tonight. There are so many releases that come out every Friday, plus big collections of used records that we are putting out. We want to make sure you are a little more informed and find out a little more info about some of these artists as the releases are coming out, so you can feel a little more informed when you go shopping at your favorite local record store. Tonight, I'm going to start with a real doozy of a record. It's a pretty interesting one. It's most infamous for its red velvety velour jacket. This is the Bee Gees. Can you see that on there, Lauren? Lauren's back here manning all the cameras for us, by the way. So please, as you're watching this, leave us any comments that you have to interject on. Let us know what you think about our shows that we're doing for Vinyl Happy Hour. And if you're watching this on a replay, if you're not watching it live with us, just leave an R in the comments so we know that you got a chance to see the replays of it. But my first record tonight for Vinyl Happy Hour, the Bee Gees' Odessa album. Most infamous because hopefully you can see this on the cameras because it is velvety red, as gaudy and 60s and 70s as you could get with a record jacket. It's pretty epic that they released this album in this jacket. This is the Bee Gees, their original pop rock band, before they were the big disco wonders that we all know and think of them for with their chest hair and gold chains and everything else. This is their 1969 album. This is the best of their 60s albums probably, when they were still more of a rock band. This is a concept album. It's actually about the sinking of a boat and the rescuing of the people or something. There's even a gatefold here that shows you people being saved from a boat. It's a concept album, but it's not a true story. So it's more of a, some people consider this their Sgt. Pepper's. You know, it's like the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's. This is their concept album. It's actually a little bit psychedelic. I guess everything in 1969 was, but it's just a really good softer pop rock album. There was some orchestration and stuff on some of the songs, but the reason I really chose it is one thing we love about record digging and finding records in our record collection is the artwork and the way it was released. The first pressing is the only one that had this velvety red cover. It's a double LP. Evidently a lot of the workers and people who were putting these jackets together had horrible sinus problems and infections and got sick from whatever they used to make this stuff. Reissues subsequently were just regular red jacket, but it's a really great album. Like I said, it's a totally different band than you would think of the sound of classic Bee Gees. This is their earlier stuff. Moving on to our next record, one that I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with, Led Zeppelin III. The other reason I pulled this, though, this is an original pressing. Just the album artwork you get with an album. Like this one, a friend of the singer had gone to school with him. He commissioned him to make the artwork. you can see that there's this whole elaborate pinwheel with all sorts of artwork with different holes in the die-cut cover that reveal different images. So a lot of them are related to aquatic and birds and things like that. There's pictures of the band members at different stages in life too. But all the artwork pulls together and you can kind of spin it and look at all the different images. This was a different album for Zeppelin. Zeppelin 1 and 2 were a lot heavier. This one they got away from all the touring life. They went and recorded in some remote cottage that didn't even have running water or electricity. So the sound of this album is also a little different. The artwork kind of goes with that, talking about all the aerial things and things that go along with the Zeppelin, things that fly. But this was kind of more of a folky album for them. It's a really great album too. It's obviously held up over time. Still a classic, but the main reason I pulled it is just because of the artwork. It's so cool. You can't get this. The CDs and cassettes of this did not have this die-cut pinwheel where you can see the full artwork and spin with it as you play it. Another little note is on the original pressing. The guy who did the pressing, when they got the press that they were going to use to make the copies with, titled something in the runout groove. Besides the part number, it also says, what thou wilt is carved into the runout groove. So that's another cool little note that you can see in the runout groove that the original person who mastered the record put in there, and now there's millions of copies that have that in there. So even though this isn't one of my featured ones tonight, I'm just going to show it off because we're showing a spinning record. I love this little Buddha record. It's like a late 60s compilation, and as you spin the wheel it shows you what song and what band has that song on here. It's so cool. There's Lovin' Spoonful and Melanie with Mr. Tambourine Man and a bunch of different bands, but just cool to see the artwork on some of these old records and how the pinwheel works like that. Another record I selected tonight, mostly just for the artwork. This is a really cool Roger Dean artwork piece for the band Osibisa. It's very kind of tropical outer space, alien-esque dinosaur, just real trippy. It's great artwork. He obviously did work for a lot of bands, including Yes is what he's most well known for, and Fudgy and some of those bands. This is a 1971 album from Osibisa. They were like an African pop rock or funk rock band. A lot of really cool drums and extra percussion and guitars going on. It's jazzy, funky, rocky. You know, they were trying to do more of what US rock bands were doing, but in a more African sense with all the extra drumming and tribal stuff, things like that. So it's a really cool album also, but it helps to have really great artwork to draw you into an album. Definitely recommend checking those guys out too for something a little different. Next release I'm going to talk about is from a new artist, well, a newer artist I should say, younger artist. This is Lucero's new album. They are 20 years old now as a band. They've been around since '98. Lauren and I have gone to see them several times, seen them play with Bobby Bear Jr., William Elliott Whitmore, Murder by Death. They're a Memphis band. If you haven't heard them yet, definitely check them out. This is a really smoothly, well-polished recorded album. They're kind of considered like country punk or whatever you want to call it. They sometimes have a soulful sound. They're a Memphis band. This album is a little bit more of a serious album, a darker album, with a really good, polished, I can't say country without you thinking of typical old country. They do have an older country sound influence, but they're kind of a younger sounding band. But they have somehow that nostalgic sound of really well recorded albums of the 80s, maybe like John Cougar Mellencamp or Bruce Springsteen, but with a good modern punch to it. You know, they're still considered more of an alt-punk band, even though they do have a country sound. This new album, though, you can tell just with the artwork, it has that kind of country gothic, southern gothic feel to it. So does the music, you know. They've gotten a little more serious. They've gotten a really polished recording after playing together for 20 years. The album sounds amazing. Let's show off some of the inner workings of it, too. So it does come with inserts. Of course, there's the vinyl. Comes with the download as well. And then each member of the band has their own photo with it. And all the lyrics and songs are on the back sides of it. So really great packaging on that. If I ever got to meet them, I'd have them all sign each one of them. That would be cool. Speaking of that, that's kind of one of my holy grails or gems I'm going to show off next, because people who pre-ordered the album and a select amount of independent record stores got their new 7-inch Hello, My Name is Izzy, a very limited batch of them. And look, it's already signed. It's autographed by Lucero. To be fair, I will tell you, we only got one copy of this into Culture Shock. It was there for 2 weeks available for sale, and then I decided to snag it for myself. I decided I've seen these guys, never had anything autographed from them, so I did get this one for myself. So it is no longer available, but how cool that they had a very limited batch that was sent out just autographed like that. The other cool thing about 7 inches is typically the single would be a song from the new album, and then a B-side that's a cover song or something not available on the album. This was like a special edition 7-inch. Both of the songs on here are only available on this 7-inch record, so they were not available on the album. So I thought that was pretty cool too. So good job for those guys. Love to check them out. So anyway, what do you guys have autographed? Have you ever had anything autographed? What records do you have autographed, or have you ever found an autographed record that was just by accident? So love to see that too. My next record here is, it's kind of a reissue, I guess you could say, but it's a first-time issue for some of these songs from the 70s folk artist Judee Sill. This is one from this record label called Run Out Groove, and they only make a limited batch of their records. This one they made 1,296 copies. That's how many independent record stores who are part of Record Store Day ordered them. So that's all they made, and sadly she had 2 albums out in 1971 and 73. Did die of an overdose later in the 70s. She had had a lot of issues in her life based on drugs, depression, and deaths in her family and friends. But she is kind of known for being the first artist signed to Asylum Records, which was Geffen Records, his label, which did a lot of folk artists like the Eagles and Jackson Browne and things like that. But she's a real downer. She's a really great singer, a really great, actually, composer even. She does multiple harmonies. She plays guitar and piano on these. These are very mellow songs. James O'Rourke actually put together her unreleased 3rd album. She was actually really mad at Asylum Records because she felt she didn't get promoted well. And after her 2nd album, they dropped her and didn't release the music she started recording for a 3rd album. Well, now some of her live stuff and some of her unheard recordings have been put out on this 2-record set. It's got a lot of really great liner notes. It's a limited numbered version. This is number 989. And it's also on purple vinyl, like purple marbled vinyl. So that's really cool. And I do want to show off one other thing we have in our rare crates at the store. One of our holy grails. Her first 2 albums, her self-titled one and this one, Heart Food, are quite rare. She was never a huge selling artist. So these can be pretty pricey. This is even a promo copy, which was provided for radio stations for airplay. It's called a white label promo, as you can see. It's got the Asylum Records label on there, but it's a white label, whereas usually their records had the blue clouds. So these were meant just for radio stations. But a really good kind of a downer, mellower folk album. Really interesting, just the things you find in records. Is this, I looked it up, this is from KDNA Records, which was a small radio station kind of privately run out of St. Louis. And the info on the radio station was that it was run by some aging hippies who didn't know what they were doing, and they just played what they wanted to when they wanted to. And it's funny that they decorated it and even wrote the name of the radio station on the inserts and on the cover. Did a little extra artwork on the inner booklet. So I just love the little notes and things you find in, you know, older original records. The record jacket looks a little rough, but the record is in mint condition. So yeah, I just love to find those different artists that are out there. Again, if you guys have any comments, please leave them below in any of our things. If you've been missing any of our Vinyl Happy Hours, you can find them on our YouTube channel. Just go to Vinyl Happy Hour and search that, or look under Culture Shock Clothing and Records and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And yeah, if you have any other ideas or comments about any of the records or releases tonight, leave us a comment and tell us what you like. Of course, give us some likes if you're watching these videos too. And every Thursday night, please join us for a new Vinyl Happy Hour. Now I'm going to go out with some friends and have some drinks and go home and listen to some more records. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good night.